Hi, everybody. My name's Justin Hanson. I'm the Commercial Director for Digital Asset Solutions. I also have Antonin, who's the Technical Services Manager from Devotech with me. Today we're presenting on IDaaS, which is the Infrastructure Design Automation Suite. So some of you may know from Digital Asset Solutions, some of you may know Digital Water Solutions. So digital asset solutions and digital water solutions are the same, one and the same. We just use the trading name digital asset solutions, digital water solutions, sorry, when we're focused on providing the technology and services to water clients only. So digital asset solutions, we're an Australian engineering consultant. Head office is here at the Gold Coast. We're an Autodesk Silver partner. We're actually, in fact, the leading Autodesk water infrastructure reseller globally. So we provide the Autodesk InfoWorks software to more than 100 clients across Australia and New Zealand. And recently we became the exclusive Devotech IDaaS reseller for Australia and New Zealand. And down the bottom there, you can see a few logos of some of our clients across the region. The Devotech group of companies, they were established in 2005, originated in South Africa. They are the developers of IDaaS. So they are a multinational with offices in South Africa, Czech Republic, and New Zealand. And as I said, we at Digital Asset Solutions are a relatively new reseller for the IDaaS product. And it's interesting how we came across it. It's pretty much been an undercover product, if you like. It's been around for 20 years almost. This product, and it's a very mature product. But we came across it through one of our senior civil engineers, civil design engineers, who moved to New Zealand from South Africa a number of years ago, and when he joined Digital Asset Solutions, he raved about the IDaaS product. We were of course skeptical about that, about the product. We'd never heard of it, but investigated and really started to assess the benefits that it can offer. So that's how our relationship began with Devotech and the IDaaS products. As an overview of IDaaS, it's an automated modeling, design, and analysis tool. It seamlessly integrates with Autodesk Civil 3D, so it's a pure integration into Civil 3D. And what it's all about is it's about accelerating the development of detailed designs. So taking concept design to detailed design in a much reduced time to develop those construction drawings. So today's webinar is about the water reticulation and using IDaaS for water reticulation detailed design, but it's not limited to that. It encompasses roads, water distribution, stormwater, sewage, and terrain. So there's a number of applications for it across the organisation. It's a very mature solution. So it's been in active development for nearly 20 years. So it's up to version 12.5 now, and integrates obviously into the latest version of Civil 3D. As I mentioned on the LinkedIn post, if some of you may have seen, there's over 2,000 active users worldwide. So it's a very strong user base, but it's been a little bit sort of undercover, the product, as I said, the IDaaS product, and we're really proud and excited to bring it to Australia. And it has had a little bit of starting to really grow in New Zealand, the user base for IDaaS, but more broadly, there's a lot of big consultants that are seeing the benefit of IDaaS, and some of those are shown there. Some big tier ones that are using it on large projects around the world. And a number of those tier ones are using it in New Zealand and starting to use it in Australia too. So what I'll do is I'll hand over to answer now, and he'll get into the details of IDAS, and also provide with a demonstration.
Thank you, Justin, for the introduction, and I will speak about IDAS components. IDAS consists of tools for design, analysis, reports, quantity takeoff, and plant production. But not only that, with IDAS we provide complete solution for the design from the beginning up to plant production. So we also provide Civil 3D template with a matching CTB file. I will speak about the Civil 3D template more in detail a little bit later. We also provide pipe network catalog that was developed for Australian and New Zealand market, training videos, help file covering IDAS as well as Civil 3D topics, and subassemblies for road design. IDAS has over 150 multidisciplinary tools for points, surfaces, alignments, profiles, profile views, corridors, roads, plant production, stormwater networks, sewer networks, water reticulation networks, bulk water pipelines, and other features. At the bottom of this slide, you can see some of the ribbons from IDAS, and you can see there is a lot of commands, but these are not all the commands because they wouldn't fit on the screen, just some of them. I already mentioned IDAS Civil 3D template. It contains over 1,800 styles. It supports various design standards and drafting standards, but of course not all of them because there's so many standards in the market, so that's not possible to implement all of them. If the client comes with a specific need, we also implement those needs if we feel that other clients might benefit from that idea as well. We use a very consistent naming convention for our styles. For example, on the right hand side, you can see the image of the surface styles, and you can clearly see that even if you have never used our template, based on a name, you know probably what that style will display, and that convention is used all the way through, not only for surfaces but other objects as well. There are no irrelevant objects or styles in a template. Everything is properly named. If you go to blocks, you know exactly where that block is used. The template has a very good performance. There are some templates in the market that do not have a good performance. Luckily, our template has good performance. And there's also an option for the customization on request. We developed some tools to modify the template programmatically. And if we can't do it programmatically, then we can do it manually. But we prefer programmatic way because if you need to modify, let's say, 1,800 stars, it takes quite some time. So if it is possible, we will program some automation to modify the template. If it's not possible, we can adjust it as per your needs. IDAS contains pipe network catalog for Australia and New Zealand, and you can see on the left hand side this is a stormwater part list with some humes and heights, manholes and pit structures and cesspit structures. On the right hand side there's an example of the manhole with a flange and lid with the wing wall structure. The wing wall structure is a structure that you don't find easily in the default Autodesk catalog. That's something we developed for our clients. You might have a very good software, but if you don't know how to use that software, it might be actually not very useful for you. So that's why we provide free of charge online training videos. There's over 215 videos of total length of over 40 hours. And the latest videos, they do have a timestamps. You can go to a specific topic if you are interested on that only. You can also share the videos with your colleagues. So this is quite convenient for our users. And let me move to demonstration of IDAS for water reticulation networks design. I will switch to Civil 3D. And in this drawing, I have a surface. This is a standard Civil 3D surface. I have a polar lines for parcel boundaries. I have a polar lines for house boundaries, polar lines for road edges. And I do also have a lines and polar lines for water reticulation network. As you can see, this is a polar line, this is a line. And we often use lines and polar lines as a source objects because they are very easy objects to work with. You can even use a draft person to help you with that. So that's why we often use these objects as a starting point. Let me convert all these objects to a pipe network. With a standard Civil 3D, you would need to convert one by one, and then you would need to merge those networks into final network. With IDAS, we have a command which is called Water Reticulation Wizard. And with this wizard, I can specify the network name. Let me use a water reticulation. With this wizard, we can convert multiple objects into network. Let me do that. I can filter objects by a layer. I can erase selected entities if I want to. Then as a structure tab, if you look at this list, you see there's quite a few various structure tabs. I will quickly scroll down so you can see better what's in there. You can see various valves, connectors, pumps, reservoirs, and so on. But I will use a junction as a structure because this will be used as a default structure, and then I will swap it to the other type wherever needed. Let me go next. And these are the conduits that were developed for Australian and New Zealand market. Let me scroll down here again. We have a Acutag, Claver, ductile iron, Iplex. Then we have some generic types. And at the end, we have a welded steel. I will use a Acutag HDPE SDR11, and as a pipe diameter, I will use a 75 millimeters. If the source entities were drawn with a vertical, with a Z elevation, then I could use it for the pipe network, but they were not drawn like that. Let me go next. If I wanted, I could add the labels, but I don't want to do it at this point, only later on, because I don't want to clutter my view. Let me click OK, and that will create the network from all the objects. It will take a few seconds, you will see right now when it converts, and it will also erase the source objects. But if I didn't want to, I could just freeze the layer with the source objects if I wanted to use them later on for something else. And if I zoom closer, you can see that the pipe network was created. To make it a little bit easier, I will turn off the backdrop image. Let me go to aerial map, off, and I can also turn off the surface with the contours. Let me switch that off, and I will turn off the line weight. And as you can see, I use the junction structure tab, and that's used everywhere. But you can see that at some places there are issues, like here. What's happening here? This is a Civil 3D issue. If I move the structure, the masking is correct. Let me undo. There's a way to fix it. For example, we can add structure masking. Let me go to Layer Manager. I go to Filters. I will use a water filter. This is how it was developed in our template. And we can add water masking in plan or in a profile. And if I regenerate now, then I need to use a display order, maybe select similar, display order, bring to front. And as you can see, the masking is fixed. But for now, I will turn off the masking, so my drawing will be a bit lighter. But there is a solution for this issue. I need to swap the house connections to house connection structures. How to do that? With IDAS, we have a command where we can swap house connection structures. I will select the network, the structure style, and I can swap all of them. Although it's not 100% correct, because there are some structures that should be treated as something else. Basically, IDAS looks at each and every structure, and if there is only one pipe connected, it will swap it to house connection. You can see it here. But for example, at this point, I want end caps. So I can use IDAS swap structures command. With IDAS, you can swap multiple structures at once. You can see the user interface is very easy to use. And I can type E for end cap, then it jumps there, and I can click OK. By the way, I can also swap pipes at the same time if I want to. So I have end caps here. Then I need to come to this side, because here I'm connecting to the existing network. So again, I need to swap those structures. So let me go to swap structure, and I will use a connect to existing water. I will select those two structures, and I click OK. So that will swap those two structures. And now I want to rotate house connection structures. You can see they need to be rotated. With a standard Civil 3D, I would need to rotate one by one. You don't want to do it for bigger networks. So that's why we developed a command where we can rotate structures. But I need to select them first. So let me select all the house connections. I go to select similar. Then I go to IDAS. network utilities, rotate structure. I have a few options here. I have a relative option, that's what I'm going to use, and the degree is 0. If I zoom in closer, you can see the structures were nicely rotated. If I look at those pipes, they are 75 millimeters, which is not correct. They should be 25 millimeters for single house connections. So I need to somehow swap them. How can I do that? What I will do, I will rename all the house connection structures. So I go to select similar. Then I go to standard Civil 3D command, rename network parts, and I will rename structures. And I will rename them to single house connection, SHC, and the counter 1. I'm not going to do anything with the pipes, and I will rename them. Now I will select all the pipes that are connected to single house connections. So I'm going to Civil 3D Prospector, Water Reticulation, Pipes, and I will scroll a little bit to the right hand side, and there will be start and end structure. I will sort the pipes by the start structure, and I will select all the pipes that do have a single house connection as a start structure. Let me go to select. If I zoom out, those two pipes are selected. Then I can go to IDAS, and I can use a swap conduit command, and I will use Ecutech HDPE SDR11, but I will use a diameter 25 millimeters. Okay. Then I will sort the pipe by the end structure name, and I will select all of them. Let me zoom and scroll down, select, and then I use very the same command, IDAS, swap conduits. Again, I can swap multiple conduits at once. Okay. And now all the pipes for the house connections are 25 millimeters. I want to swap those structures to saddles. How to do that? I need to select structures that are connected to those 25 millimeters pipe. How can I do it? There is no standard way in Civil 3D, but I will use a very simple workaround. I will select all the pipes which do have a diameter of 25 millimeters. Let me sort them by description. And then I will select all of them. Then I go to select. I go to standard Civil 3D, rename network parts. I will rename pipes only. I'll call it HC as a house connection and starting number 1. Rename OK. And now I need to select the structures that are connected to those pipes. I will use quick select command. OK. I will select all the structures that are connected to pipe with the names, connected pipe names, operator wildcard, and I will use an asterisk, HC house connection asterisk. That's why I renamed those pipes. I will include in a new selection set, OK, and all the structures connected to those 25 millimeters pipe are selected. Now I need to deselect house connections. I will use the same command, qselect. I'm typing it into command line. Then I will select structures with a name using wildcard again, and I will use an asterisk, single house connection, asterisk, exclude from new selection set. OK. And only saddles are selected. Then I can go to IDAS, swap structures. I can type S for saddle. OK. And if I zoom closer, you can see all these structures are saddle now. If I want to add the house connection manually, I can do it with IDAS. I go to IDAS, house connection command. Then I can specify the network name, I can specify the pipe diameter, I specify 32 millimeters because I want to create double house connection. And as a connector, I will use saddle. OK, I specify the location, and IDAS finds automatically the closest pipe, and it connects perpendicularly to that pipe. So it is very easy to create those house connections manually if you want to, not like you need to specify, draw the perpendicular line, auxiliary line, and specify the location. No, this is much easier, as you can see. And I will show you some other features. If I zoom to this location, you can see that there is a problem. What happened here? This polyline or line was drawn all the way through. And if there is no vertex, there is no structure. And this polyline stopped here. And because there was no structure for the pub that goes through, that's why it didn't create structure there and it didn't connect nicely. How can I fix it? First of all, I will swap this structure to saddle. Let me go to swap structure. The saddle is still there. I just select it and I click OK. And now I need to break pub. With a standard Civil 3D, I would need to shorten the pub, draw a new pub, quite a few steps. With IDAS, I can go to command break pubs. Then I select pub to break, and I select structure where I want to break it. And that's it. Let me show you another nice practical command. With IDAS, we can delete structures in plan as well as in a profile view. In a standard Civil 3D, you can't delete structure from the profile view. You can remove it from the profile view, but in plan it still remains. With IDAS we can do that, but this delete command works in plan as well. Let me show you. If I go to delete structure, I will select the structure, I will select the pipe I want to keep, and it does this. So you don't need to delete two pipes or connect it and all that. It's much easier. Let me undo. And let me insert some fire hydrants. I will use a standard Civil 3D. Let me do that. I go to Edit Network. This opens Network Layout Tools toolbar. I specify the structure type. I will use a fire hydrant. And then I will specify structure only. Let me add a few of them. Let's say here, here, then maybe somewhere here, and here. I also want to add some valves. Let me do that. I will use a gate valve. And again, I will use a structure only. Let me add only a few of them. I'm not going to add all of them. Maybe at this location, And I would like to show you one command, the rotate structure command, that you can use for valves as well. You can see that they are not nicely aligned. So if I select one valve, I can go to select similar, so they get selected. And then I can go to IDAS, network utilities, rotate structures. Then I specify the relative 90 degrees. And if I zoom in closer, they are nicely aligned with the pipes. I regenerated the view so they mask the pipes behind. I can use rotate structure commands for the end caps as well. Let me use it. So I select this structure and that structure, and then I will use a relative option 0, enter. And now I want to adjust the entire network vertically because I didn't do anything with the vertical adjustments. Let me go to 3D view. And let me zoom in a bit, and you can see that we use a simplified representation for each and every structure. Now you may ask, why do we do that? If I go to ribbon home in Civil 3D and there's a pipe network drop down, there are two network tabs, the pipe network creation tools and pressure network creation tools. When we started developing tools for Civil 3D almost 20 years ago, there were only pipe network creation tools. There were no pressure network creation tools. So we use these networks for gravity networks as well as pressurized system. So we use them for water, reticulation, bulk water pipelines, stormwater networks, sewer networks. Later on, Autodesk introduced the pressured networks, but unfortunately they are still very limited and they don't provide all the tools we need. And programmatically, the API, application programming interface, is also very limited. So we can't even program the tools we need for the efficient design. So unfortunately, we can't use those pressure network creation tools. So we use a normal networks and very basic visual representation. But we are looking for a solution to find out the way to use a proper visual representation in a 3D view. If we find that, we will definitely share it with you. Let me zoom out a bit, and I want to adjust the entire network vertically. So I'm going to IDAS, then I go to adjust inverts, and I'm not only adjusting inverts here, I can adjust some other parameters as well. So I can select the entire network, the reference surface, then I can specify the cover, or I can specify above, below ground, and so on. Then I can specify the structure rim elevation. As you know now, we're using a standard Civil 3D pubs, and they do have a rim and some elevations. Although for water networks where you have a fittings, it doesn't make sense much, but this is the way it is, and it is not a problem at all. And I will specify the 0.8 below ground and adjust structure sum depth 0. Let me click OK. And you will see the entire network will adjust vertically. You will see slight move. It's almost done. And now the entire network moved down, and you can see the network is adjusted. I'm going back to top view. If you want to know how many objects or how many pipes you use for your design, you can go to Pipe Manager, where we have a lot of other functionalities for pipe networks. I will show only few of them. In the Pipe Manager, if I want to, I can display backdrop map, aerial, for example. But what I want to do here, I want to show you that there's an option to have a pipe length summary. Let me calculate the quantities quickly. Okay, and then I specify. It will calculate the quantities. And then I go to pipe length summary. And here you can see how many 25 millimeters, 75 millimeters, and 32 millimeters I have. You can export it if you wish to. You can even go to structure summary, where you can see the saddles, junctions, single house connections, double house connections, gate valves, and all that. So if you want a quick quantities, you can get it from here. You can also export some details. For example, if I go to conduits, any tab can be exported. You can go to structures, nodes, you can export any details from here. As I said, there's a lot more functionality. I'm not going to cover it right now. Let me close the Pipe Manager, and I will add some labels, but this is standard Civil 3D tool. So I'm going to select pipes, and I want to label all the pipes that do have a diameter equal to 75 millimeters. So let me do that. Let me do it again. It doesn't look right. So now I will select all the pipes again. And then I go select. Then I go to Civil 3D, add labels, add pipe network labels, and I will use a single part in plan. And for the pipes, I can choose the diameter. For the structures, I can choose whether I want to use a plan name or something else. Then I go add. Now I need to select them. Let me see if I can select them from that model space. I can't, so let me select them again. And then I go to add, and that will add the labels to all those 75 millimeters pipes. And then if I want to add the names to the structures, let's say I want to add the names to the house connections. So again, I will sort the structures by description. And then I go to select. Let me escape again, select, and then I will add the labels to house connections. So as you can see, they are numbered. I would like to highlight that I used standard Civil 3D objects with IDAS. There is no proprietary object here. If I go to pipe properties, this is a normal Civil 3D properties. The only difference is there are some additional properties that we use with IDAS. And if you want them to have them in your catalog, then it is just a matter of one XML file which you need to copy over. So it's very easy. But those properties are very practical to have for your pipes and structures. And the other note I would like to mention is that if someone without IDAS wants to use this drawing, there's no problem at all, because we're only using Civil 3D objects and AutoCAD objects. So again, we're not locking the users that only users with IDAS can use IDAS drawings. No, anybody can use IDAS drawings, whoever has Civil 3D. And now you can imagine how much time would it take if you use standard Civil 3D to create this simple pipe network. Of course, I could use a different pipe sizes. I could also rename some pipes and structures if needed, but those are standard Civil 3D commands. So this is basically what I wanted to cover for today. And now I will pass it to Justin.
Thanks very much, Antonin. I had actually allowed for questions a little bit later, but I think now is probably the best time to actually put the floor open for questions. If anyone's got any, please raise your hand or type a question in, and that would be great. If not, you can always think about them and come back to us as we keep moving. All right. So from a return on investment point of view, there's a lot that Antonin showed there, so thank you, Antonin. There's a lot of different functionality, a lot of tools. The ROI, obviously, that can vary greatly depending on the nature of the project and so forth. But we've done some rough ROI calcs. So just to give you a ballpark sort of indicative figures, a subscription license for 1 year of IDaaS is around 4,200 a year is the type of pricing. So that's sort of where it sits. And so from a ROI point of view, we just did some rough calculations. You can see there that, we're estimating that you'd save, if you're using an Angular, 30 to 60% of design time. And again, if you're saving 20% of your time, and you're doing design actually 50% of the time, we reckon you'd save about 16 hours per month, which equates to about $1,280 per month, so about a 3.5 month ROI. But again, that can all vary, of course, depending on the nature of the project. I had one gentleman advise me a couple of days ago they're planning to use it on a large pipeline project in the Middle East, a bulk pipeline project, 600 kilometers, and they said it's literally going to save months up front at the start of the detailed design process. So that's a little bit information on the ROI. Questions, I did see one popped in. One question did pop in.
Yes, I saw it. If I may answer it.
Yes, please.
Okay, so there's a question if it design vertical fittings, etc. IDaaS doesn't design the fittings. The only thing we calculate is horizontal, vertical, and combined angle, and that you can use for to assign the allocated band. That's basically often used for bulk water pipelines where we use this feature. So I hope I answered the question, but if you want to comment on that, please let us know.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Antonin. Yeah, so any other questions, obviously, we can reach out to myself or Antonin after the webinar. We'd be more than happy to meet one-on-one and just provide further information. As I said, there was a lot of information that we've provided today, and this was just to give you a snippet of some of the functionality available for water reticulation, network design. And yeah, so we're going to hold another webinar on IDaaS for sewage network design and analysis in a few weeks from now, which we'll advertise the link for that. It'll be similar to today on Thursday, the 7th of November at 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So please do, if you're of interest, to join that next webinar. For further information and just to have a chat, and we're offering trial versions to select customers of IDaaS for extended trials. We are committed to develop a community of IDaaS users in Australia and New Zealand. As I said, there's a number of key users already. Some of the tier ones in New Zealand and Australia are starting to use the product, but we're really keen to establish a genuine community where we can have user groups and forums and the ability to share that knowledge and pass that knowledge around so that we can all gain benefit and reduce the tedium of some of the detailed design tasks in Civil 3D and make things a lot more efficient across the board. So if you do have any want to talk afterwards or want to any more information, please do contact myself. My contact details are there, and we'd love to chat and go from there.
Okay, thank you everybody for joining.
Thank you everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.